Have you ever blamed yourself for not being able to fit in, for standing in the middle of a crowd and feeling as if everyone understood each other except you? That feeling is like a silent verdict, making you believe there is something wrong with you, that you are too different, too quiet. You cannot explain why you seem disconnected from the common rhythm of life, as if some unseen force gently pushes you into a space of silence you never consciously chose. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists in history, never saw loneliness as something frightening or shameful. For him, periods of separation from the outside world carry a sacred meaning. They mark the moment when the inner life begins to speak. When the external noise fades, the unconscious finally has enough room to emerge, and that moment is often the sign that you are entering a transformation far deeper than you realize. If you do not understand where you are in this phase, you can easily fall into self-blame and confusion. Many people are so afraid of the emptiness that they return to old relationships, old habits, or even the very things that once hurt them, just to avoid the feeling of being alone. And the way you interpret this isolation determines whether you step into a more mature stage of life or continue repeating the patterns that drain you. In this video, I will guide you through 10 layers of experience that most people pass through unconsciously, without realizing that these moments are quietly reshaping the way they perceive themselves. And pay special attention to sign number 10, because that is where you will finally understand why life pulls you away from what is familiar to open a completely different path. By the time you complete this journey, you will see how every piece falls into place most naturally. Sign 1. This pain is not wrong. Have you ever lain in bed and felt something inside you grow heavy, even though nothing specific had happened? Everything looks the same on the outside, but something within makes you lose your breath just a little. You do not cry. You are not panicked. You simply feel yourself drifting away from the familiar rhythm of your everyday life. That feeling is not loud, yet it carries its own weight. You try to fit in, try to smile at the right moment, try to keep up with everyone's conversations. But the more you try, the more you feel yourself standing apart from the scene. This sense of disconnection makes many people confused because they assume it is a sign of being isolated. This thought appears in your mind and grows more frequent, making you even more anxious. Many people mistakenly believe that isolation is a sign that something is wrong with them, when in reality, it is often the result of having stepped beyond an old boundary before they have had time to notice. What once made you feel safe suddenly feels constricting. Conversations that once felt natural no longer hold you. Places that once felt like home begin to feel unfamiliar. Jung believed that pain is only a knock on the door. The most painful moments often symbolize the breaking of an old layer of consciousness to make room for a new form. When that inner shift begins, you may feel as though everything is falling away from you. But in truth, a deeper layer of awareness is opening within. Pain is not a verdict, it is an invitation. When your inner world wants to move, it creates just enough discomfort so that you can no longer stay still. It is not punishment. It is a signal from life. A relationship, a job, or a place you were attached to for many years suddenly no longer fits, and you choose to leave. The first feeling you experience afterward is often not relief, but emptiness. Many people think they made the wrong choice or did not try hard enough. But in truth, that disorientation simply shows that you have stepped out of an old cycle. The outside has changed, and the inside of you needs more time to catch up. Imagine you are having lunch with your colleagues. Everyone is still talking about work, plans, and the usual topics, yet you only hear them as if you were an observer standing on the outside. No one avoids you, no one treats you differently, but you just cannot match their frequency. It feels as if the whole group is tuned into one wavelength, and you have quietly slipped out of it without knowing why. What makes this pain uncomfortable is not the feeling itself, but the fact that you do not know what to do with it. You do not know what it is signaling. You do not know how long it will last. This uncertainty pushes people into cycles of self-blame. You start creating the worst explanations for yourself, and you begin concluding that you are inadequate, different, or unsure of where you belong. But if you pause for a moment and truly look at your real condition, you will see something else. In this moment, you are not performing for anyone. not trying to appear fine. You feel yourself clearly, tired, out of sync, no longer aligned with what once felt right. That honesty scares people, so they avoid it. But the more they avoid it, the more strongly the discomfort returns. The initial feeling of being lost is not a sign of an ending, it is the beginning of a new phase. What matters is whether you can stay calm enough to stand within those heavy days and listen to what life is trying to tell you. It is like being lost in a forest without a signpost. You must find your way by relying on your own inner strength. Do you recognize yourself in those moments? This pain is real, but it is not wrong. It is simply showing you that you have changed. What once suited you no longer does. Seen this way, the initial disorientation is not a collapse, but an invitation to step into a different version of yourself. Sign 2. Isolation is a phase of transition. The feeling of isolation is not always a loss. Sometimes it is simply life pulling you away from an environment that no longer helps you grow. You think you are being left behind, but in truth, you are being placed in a quieter space so you can see yourself clearly again after a long time spent keeping up with the rhythms of others. The sense of distance from people does not arise from conflict or misunderstanding. It appears softly when you no longer feel aligned with old conversations, old habits, and the old pace of life. Everyone is still the same, but you are no longer as interested or connected as before. This shift is not about them, it is about you, because something inside you is moving to a different rhythm. In winter, even when everything above ground looks still or lifeless, the roots beneath the soil continue to grow deeper in preparation for a new cycle of expansion. Psychological movement works the same way. Relationships that once felt close may loosen, motivations that once excited you may grow faint, and a job that once felt stable may no longer hold you. It is not that you have changed too fast, but that the old life cycle has reached its end point. In the Red Book, Carl Jung wrote that solitude forces a person to confront themselves directly. You begin to look at yourself without relying on others' reactions or approval. What you once used to measure your worth suddenly loses its meaning. At first, this pulling back creates a space that confuses you, but it is within that very space that your truest perceptions finally have room to appear. Have you ever been invited out for coffee as usual, but this time you simply did not want to go? You were not upset with anyone, you just felt you no longer fit those conversations. You could sit at the table if you wanted to, but you knew you would not truly connect the way you used to. You chose to stay home and give yourself a moment of quiet, and in that silence, you realized something inside you was changing. That feeling shows you that you are no longer moving at the same pace as everyone else. This isolation is not the same as being excluded. It does not carry the sting of rejection. It feels more like standing at a threshold, where part of you has already turned towards something new while you are still caught between two worlds. One foot still touches what is old, and the other leans toward what is emerging. It is a strange, familiar, in-between state where you do not know whether to step forward or step back, but deep down, you know you cannot return to where you were. It is like moving houses. Your old belongings are boxed up. Your new home is not ready yet, and you stand in the middle of an empty room, not knowing what comes next. It is not the feeling of being abandoned, but the feeling of being suspended between two phases of your life. And what makes this phase uncomfortable is not the loneliness, it is the uncertainty. The truth is, you do not need to pretend to be fine or hold on to anything. The distancing that is happening is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to give you space to see yourself again. When you stand far enough away, you begin to notice the roles you tried to maintain, the boundaries you crossed, and the habits that no longer belong to you. This is when new awareness begins to form, and the distance you feel now is the very space life is giving you, so you can finally see it. How long have you sensed this shift but not dared to admit it is happening? Be honest with what you feel. Do not force yourself to blend in when your heart is pulling back. Do not cling to things that have faded. When you accept this distance as part of the journey, you will feel lighter. A new phase is opening before you quiet, but undeniably real. Sign 3. When the noise fades, the unconscious emerges. When the pace of life slows down, the first thing you notice is not the outside world, but what is happening inside you. Everything around you becomes quieter. Fewer calls, fewer messages, fewer familiar distractions. If in the past you wished for time to rest, now that this space appears, you suddenly feel a bit unsettled. The outside is calm, yet your mind begins to become more active, as if something has just been unlocked. When you are no longer swept up by familiar routines, your mind begins to open the doors you never had time to look through before. Old thoughts reappear. Moments you thought you had forgotten suddenly become vivid again. You remember small situations, old words, emotions you once pushed aside. Everything surprises you, as if your mind were pulling out old drawers, one by one. You think you are becoming chaotic, but in truth, this is when the unconscious begins to surface. When your outer world quiets down, you lose the places where you used to hide from what was left unresolved. Memories, thoughts, and old emotions do not return to weigh you down. They return to show you the parts of yourself you have never faced. Jung once wrote, "The unconscious will rise when consciousness no longer dominates everything." And it is precisely in this quiet space that your true self begins trying to speak to you. Think back, have you ever felt this? You are washing dishes, taking a shower, or walking home, and suddenly an old story comes back to you. You might be sitting in your room and suddenly feel sad for no apparent reason. Things you once dismissed begin resurfacing. Old emotions, old thoughts, memories you believed were gone, now become sharply defined again. The unconscious does not wait for you to be prepared. It arrives the moment you are quiet enough to notice what you once avoided. And this appearance signals that you are entering a deeper layer of yourself. Many people share that in these quiet days, they suddenly remember things they thought had long closed. Some think about a childhood comment that once hurt them. Others remember a past relationship they believed they had already outgrown. And because the unconscious does not speak in words, it speaks in emotions. You may not be able to explain why you are sad, why you feel anxious, or why you remember something so specific. The only thing you can sense is that something inside you is shifting. This feeling makes many people uncomfortable because they think they are going backward or becoming weaker. In reality, that is not the case. You are simply stepping into the deepest part of your inner world, a place you never had enough stillness to hear before. When you spend more time alone, things you thought you had forgotten begin to return. An old phrase, a wound you once brushed aside, or a need you always ignored. These things do not appear randomly. They are your mind's way of telling you that something remains unresolved. You see it now, so that you do not have to carry it any further. If you have ever sat still and felt your mind running non-stop with thoughts of every kind, that is not a sign of overload. It is the unconscious rising after being overshadowed for so long by the pace of daily life. Sometimes you recall a tiny moment from the past that seems unrelated to anything, yet it lingers in your mind for the entire evening. These moments do not come to exhaust you. They come to remind you that something inside still needs to be acknowledged. During times like these, you do not need to force yourself to calm down or try to shut off the thoughts appearing in your mind. Doing so only drains you further. What is arising now does not come to frighten you. It comes to show you what within you has never been fully examined. This is the mind preparing itself before the deeper layers those you once avoided begin to emerge. When was the last time you heard the real voice inside you? When you become quiet enough to listen, you will realize the unconscious does not bring up only pleasant things. It also brings up parts that make you hesitate, but do not run from them. Their appearance means you are touching a deeper level of yourself, one you have never stepped into before. Sign 4. The shadow steps forward. When there is no role left to perform and no external person to lean on, the emotions you once avoided begin to appear more clearly. It may be the anger you pushed down, the sadness you never expressed, or the sense of inferiority you always tried to ignore. In this stage, many people panic because they think they are becoming more negative. But in truth, these emotions did not suddenly appear in the present moment. They have been there for a long time. You were simply too busy to hear them. When silence arrives, the unconscious steps forward. And when the unconscious steps forward, the shadow comes first. Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious. It will direct your life, and you will call it fate. What you are seeing now is not a sign of disorder, but a sign that the unconscious wants you to revisit the parts of yourself you once acted as if they did not exist. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is not something evil. It is simply the parts of you that you avoided facing because you feared that seeing them would alter the image of yourself you tried so hard to maintain. Yet, it is in these parts that the deepest truths about you reside. The boundaries you never dared to speak, the sadness you left unfinished, the desires you never admitted. Some people always thought of themselves as calm and gentle. They are seen by everyone as kind, easygoing, never angry, but when they are alone, they suddenly find themselves becoming irritated by the smallest things. They are surprised, thinking they have changed, but in reality, this is the first time they are seeing the anger that had been suppressed for so many years. In the crowd, they play the role of the reasonable one. But when they are alone, the shadow reveals the truth. They, too, have boundaries that have been crossed far too many times. Are you one of those people? A friend once told me she believed she had moved on from an old relationship. She lived normally, worked, laughed, and even started new connections. But eventually, a sense of hurt and disappointment from that old relationship resurfaced. She thought she was being weak or overthinking, but in truth, the wound had never been healed. It had only been set aside. If she did not look at it, she would carry it into her next relationship without knowing. When you enter a stage of spending more time alone, the emotions you previously ignored begin to reappear. They show up precisely at the moment you believe you are fine. Not to confuse you, but because you are finally calm enough to face what once made you uncomfortable. These emotions do not ask for immediate solutions. They simply want you to acknowledge that they are still there. When an emotion is seen clearly, its intensity decreases. When you admit that you are angry, sad, or feeling small, these feelings stop weighing on you the way they once did. They begin to soften because you are no longer avoiding them. And the moment you recognize what you once overlooked, you are taking another step into your inner maturity. Many people fear this stage because they think they are getting worse. But in reality, they are simply becoming more honest with themselves. When you no longer have to pretend to be happy, strong, or fine according to someone else's expectations, you begin to see your true emotions. This may feel confusing, but it is an essential step toward understanding what you want and what you no longer want. When was the last time you truly felt an uncomfortable emotion? And did you ever ask yourself what it was trying to tell you? Maturity does not come from trying to stay optimistic all the time. It comes from looking directly at your emotions without running away. When you understand what is happening inside you, you will see that you can no longer live the way you used to. Sign 5. The old ego dissolves. When you begin spending more time alone, the first thing that changes is not the outer environment, but the roles you once carried within it. Isolation removes the gazes you used to adjust yourself for. When there is no one left to observe or expect something from you, the behaviors you adopted to make others comfortable automatically fall away. This is why the stage of isolation often comes with an internal cracking. You no longer have to be an actor. In that quiet space, you start to see how many years you have lived through roles that were never truly yours. You laughed when you were not happy, acted strong when you were exhausted, and said you were fine, when inside, you were a tangled mess. None of this was because you were fake, but because the environment you lived in required you to adapt to be accepted. Yet when you step away from familiar relationships and rhythms, those roles begin to lose their function. You start to recognize what is a natural response for you and what is simply a shell you used to fit into other people's expectations. Jung called this shell the persona. He once wrote, "The persona is a complicated system of relations between the individual consciousness and society, but it is not the true human being. When isolation arrives, the persona is the first thing to fall. With no audience and no expectations, the social mask has no reason to stay. You feel different, yet at the same time, more authentic than ever before. Many people think they are losing themselves, when in reality, they are only shedding the parts that once led them away from who they really are. As the old layers fall away, you no longer feel the need to please everyone. You no longer force yourself to be strong in every situation. You no longer pretend to be optimistic when you no longer have the energy. These changes do not make you weaker. They show you are living closer to your real emotions than before. A close friend once told me that she used to be the cheerful one in every situation. Even when she was tired or sad, she still smiled. But at a certain point, during a slower season of life, she found she could no longer maintain that. She began allowing herself to be silent, even declining plans she once pushed herself to join. She asked herself, "Why am I doing all this?" What surprised her was not the change itself, but the sense of relief she felt when she no longer had to perform being cheerful. As the masks inside you begin to fall, your reactions start to shift. You find it easier to say no. You choose rest instead of forcing yourself to accommodate someone else. You stay silent when you do not feel like speaking. Instead of searching for conversation to keep things comfortable, you withdraw from conversations that drain you, and you worry less about what others think of you. These changes are not coldness. They happen because you no longer want to strain yourself to maintain roles that were never truly yours. Think of a man who has always been considered the pillar of the family. He is used to staying calm, hiding his exhaustion, and being the emotional anchor for everyone. But when he enters a period of isolation, he realizes that for many years, he has never acknowledged his vulnerabilities or shared anything with his wife and children. When he cries over something seemingly small, he does not understand why, but the truth that it is the first time he has allowed himself to be his truest self, not the role of the strong husband and father. Everyone has moments in life when they pause. As long as you know where you are and live honestly with your emotions, you are not moving backward, you are moving forward. Isolation is like a temporary pause that allows you to see yourself clearly. When you no longer need to prove anything to anyone, you begin to see how many years you have lived according to an image others expected from you. And when that image falls away, you are not losing yourself. You are finally beginning to see who you really are. Ask yourself, what are you letting go of now that you once believed was a compulsory part of your identity? There will come a moment when you realize you react completely differently than before. You no longer cling to relationships that have faded. You no longer need to explain things others refuse to understand. You choose what aligns with you even when it does not make everyone happy. That is the clearest sign that you have stepped out of your old version and that a new way of living is beginning to form. Sign 6. Individuation begins. After a period of living more quietly, you begin entering a very different stage. If isolation once confused you, now you start to hear small signals from within. These are not the voices of anxiety or fear, but a gentle pull towards something you once left behind. Your true needs begin rising more clearly, and you notice they no longer match what society, family, or friends once expected from you. At this stage, you return to yourself in a very natural way. You stop chasing what you should do and pay more attention to what aligns with you. You may want to slow down or speed up, change careers, revisit a long-forgotten hobby, or simply rest for a while. All of these shifts come from genuine inner needs, not from outside pressure pushing you forward. Some people laugh when they realize they prefer reading alone over weekend drinking. Others suddenly want to study something they loved as a child. Some discover they want a quieter, simpler life. What stands out is how these desires arrive gently, yet unmistakably clear enough that you can no longer ignore them. In Jungian psychology, this is the moment when individuation, the process of becoming yourself, begins. Jung wrote, "Man becomes whole not by following others, but by listening to what stirs within." When you reach this stage, you worry less about your image in the eyes of others. What matters more is how you feel when you are alone, when you work, and when you live according to your own choices. The return of forgotten parts of yourself is also a clear sign. Old interests you once pushed aside begin resurfacing. Someone may suddenly want to paint again after stopping for more than 10 years. Someone else may dust off a guitar left in the corner. Another might wonder why they ever abandoned writing when it once made them happiest. Your intuition also grows sharper. You more easily sense what makes you feel light and what drains you. Some people realize they no longer fit into a high-paying job that exhausts them, and they begin exploring options that are more aligned with their health and values. Dreams once dismissed as unrealistic begin to make sense. In the past, you might have imagined a different lifestyle, but shut the thought down because you felt unworthy. Now those desires feel reasonable, and more importantly, you are no longer ashamed to admit them. You feel closer to your authentic nature. Even if the steps you take are small, they are enough to confirm that you are moving in the right direction. I have a friend who worked as a construction engineer for more than 10 years. He always believed the job was the safest choice for his family. After a project downsizing forced him into temporary leave, he entered a period of quiet living. Only then did he realize he had never asked himself what he truly wanted. He remembered his love for programming from his college years and began studying again, little by little. 1 year later, he switched careers, not earning as much as before, but living more lightly and more authentically than ever. For the first time, he felt he was walking a path he chose for himself. Individuation begins when you stop doing what no longer fits and start naming what you genuinely want. It is not a dramatic overnight transformation. It starts with small shifts. Choosing your health, permitting yourself to rest, stepping out of conversations that drain you, and spending more time listening inward. Each small choice brings you closer to yourself. At this stage, you also realize something important. You do not need to know exactly where you are going. What you need is simply to notice what makes you feel closer to your true self. Your desires may change over time, but the feeling of, "This is right for me," becomes unmistakably clear. When you truly listen to that, your decisions begin aligning naturally with your values and real needs. Many people are surprised to find they are less afraid of change than before. They no longer feel pressured to live the way everyone else does. Instead, they begin honoring their real emotions and respecting the boundaries they once ignored. This does not make them selfish. It shows they are learning what they need in order to live with greater ease and purpose. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, is something in you trying to return? It could be an old hobby, a forgotten dream, a desire to change your environment, or simply the wish to live more slowly. If you feel it, understand this. It is not random. It is a sign that you are beginning to live closer to who you truly are. Before moving on to sign number 7, we want to thank you for staying with us through half of this journey. In every passing moment, we all have the opportunity to learn and grow, and your presence here, listening and reflecting with us, is a gift we deeply appreciate. To help us share these meaningful lessons with more people, please like and share this video. Each share is a small action with deep significance, just like the timeless insights Carl Jung left behind. And do not forget, the 7th sign awaits you in the next part. Once again, thank you for being here. Sign 7. When pain loses the need for control. When you begin living closer to your true emotions, the feelings that once made you uncomfortable start returning. Not to hurt you, but to remind you that you are changing. In the past, whenever pain appeared, you tended to avoid it by doing more, talking more, or keeping yourself busy just so you would not have to think about it. But eventually, you no longer want to avoid it. You pause and look directly at the feeling that is bothering you. And surprisingly, when you face it, the feeling becomes lighter. You realize the pain is not as big as you once imagined. It is only powerful when you ignore it or run from it. When you look at it calmly, you see that it is simply part of your experience, not something terrifying. Jung once said, "The light of consciousness reduces the size of the shadow." When you start observing your emotions instead of being pulled by them, that is the true moment of emotional maturity. You no longer allow pain to dictate your decisions or reactions. You begin to see the distance between you and your emotions, and that distance is where you regain your sense of control. Some people once feared abandonment so much that even a slow reply from someone they cared about made them anxious. In the past, they would call, text repeatedly, and try everything to fill the void. But at this stage, when that fear rises, they do not rush for an answer. They breathe slowly, observe the discomfort, and realize it comes from old experiences rather than the present situation. When they stand still like that, the fear loses its power. It no longer controls them the way it once did. At this sign, many people experience a very special turning point. If pain once led you, now you stand still and allow it to pass. You do not try to block it, and you do not try to explain it away. You watch it as a normal part of your inner life. When you stop trying to control your emotions stop controlling you. In the past, if someone said something unpleasant, you might think about it all day. Now, you feel a brief discomfort and let it move on. In the past, admitting you were sad felt impossible. Now, you allow yourself to feel sad for a moment and then return to life. What has changed is not the disappearance of the emotion, but the way you respond to it. Pain becomes most intense when you try to control everything, when you want someone to stay, when you want events to unfold exactly as you wish, when you want the past to be different. The more tightly you hold on, the more you hurt. But when you release your grip on control, you do not become weaker, you become lighter. You allow life to unfold without fighting it every minute. Imagine someone who feared loneliness so much that they always stayed in a relationship, even when the relationship no longer felt good. When they reach this sign, they feel the emptiness clearly, but they no longer rush to fill it. They allow themselves to sit in that space without panicking. And in that very moment, they realize they are stronger. They realize they can stand on their own without depending on anyone else. In psychology, this is the point where you begin reclaiming the power you once unconsciously gave to other people or circumstances. Pain appears not to remind you of what happened, but to test how much you have grown in handling it. You no longer react instinctively. You choose your response deliberately. Some people describe this stage as the first time they truly see their emotions rather than being swept up by them. When they are sad, they know they are sad. When they are worried, they know they are worried. But they no longer fuse with the emotion. They become the observer. And when you can hold the position of the observer, you understand that pain cannot break you. It only reveals the parts inside you that still need clarity. Is there something that once made you lose control but no longer affects you the same way now? That change did not come from your circumstances. It came from you. You dared to look directly at your true emotions. You chose to face rather than flee. And when you clearly see the thing that once hurt you, the pain loses the power it once had. Sign 8. Returning to the world. No longer the same. After spending time facing themselves, many people realize they return to life in a very different way. Everything around them is still the same. The job, the friends, the familiar conversations, but their reactions have changed. They no longer chase after everything the way they once did. Instead, they become calmer, more observant, and less easily pulled into the things that used to exhaust them. Have you ever felt yourself changing in moments like that? A harsh comment no longer throws you off for an entire day. An unexpected situation no longer sends you into panic. Instead of reacting immediately, you give yourself a few seconds to pause. You exhale and let the emotion move through you before deciding what you truly want to do next. The difference is this. You are no longer trying to appear strong. You no longer force yourself to be calm. Calmness now lives inside you. This is when you begin to realize the change was never in the world outside, it was in you. A passing remark like someone saying, "You look tired lately," or "You have changed," no longer makes you anxious the way it once did. You pause, breathe softly, and respond most naturally. Yes, I am reviewing a few things in my life. No long explanations, no justifying yourself, no pretending to be fine. You simply say what you feel. The way you respond has changed because the inside of you has changed. You hear what they say, but you no longer let their words determine your value. You observe without dissolving into old emotional patterns. This calmness is not indifference. It is a sign that you no longer live based on other people's expectations. Jung said, "The world you see outside reflects the world you build within. When your inner world becomes less chaotic, everything around you also begins to feel gentler. The things that once made you angry or sad no longer have the same impact. Not because circumstances improved, but because your perception did. You understand where your emotions come from, and so they no longer drag you into old reactions. This is also the stage where your relationships naturally filter themselves. People who no longer align with you drift away without any dramatic conflict. You no longer feel the need to hold on to people at any cost. You no longer cling to relationships that drain you. Meanwhile, people who resonate with your new version begin to appear. You do not have to search for them. You simply need to show up as yourself. In the past, when someone complained about you or said something unkind, you would worry, overthink, and try to adjust yourself to please them. But now, you just listen for a moment. If what they say is true, you acknowledge it. If it is not, you let it pass. You no longer break yourself to fit into an image someone else holds. You live more intentionally rather than reacting out of fear. Or perhaps you used to get angry easily when pressured at work. But now you understand you have the right to choose your own pace. You set boundaries, divide tasks clearly, and no longer accept responsibilities beyond your capacity just to avoid judgment. This does not make you weaker. It makes you more mature in protecting your well-being. The change becomes even more noticeable when you return to environments that once made you tense. In the past, you may have felt small in meetings or anxious at family gatherings when someone might comment or ask something uncomfortable. But now, you stand firmer. You know who you are and what matters to you. So old expectations no longer dictate your reactions. Imagine a meeting where your boss demands sharply, "Why is this not finished yet?" In the past, you might freeze or blame yourself for the rest of the day. But now you calmly review the document and respond clearly. "I am making precise adjustments and will send it right after the meeting." No defensiveness, no fear, no self-diminishing. You observe, understand the context, and choose a more grounded response. In Jungian psychology, this is the stage where your inner world reorganizes itself. You have revisited your inner layers, faced your true emotions, and clarified what belongs to you. When you return to daily life, you carry a new structure. This makes the world see you differently. And it makes you see the world differently. The change happens quietly, yet strongly enough for others to notice. You gravitate toward deeper, more authentic connections. You care more about quality than quantity. You realize you do not need many people, only the right ones, the ones who allow you to be yourself. This is one of the clearest signs that you are no longer the old version of yourself. You begin choosing responses over reactions. You think before you speak. You walk away from spaces that drain you, and you move toward the things that bring you peace. You do not do this to appear strong, but because you finally understand what helps you grow. After reading these lines, do you see yourself somewhere in them? Do you notice that the world shifts when you shift from within? If you have ever had a moment when you realized you no longer react like your old self, share it in the comments. Those small signs are proof that you are stepping into the true maturity of your life, and we would love to hear your story. Sign 9. The emergence of silent strength. When you begin returning to your life as a more grounded version of yourself, you will notice something interesting. You no longer need to display anything, yet people can still feel the change in you. Inner calm creates a unique kind of strength, one that is not loud, yet softens everything around you. It does not come from your words or actions, but from the internal state you have built while moving through the previous layers of transformation. You once easily got swept into the emotions of others. If someone became angry, you reacted. If someone acted distant, you worried. But now, you no longer respond that way. You stand firmly in your own emotional center and allow others to be responsible for theirs. This creates what could be called a clean energy, one that does not pull anyone downward, but also refuses to be pulled away. Jung once said, "A person who is completely inwardly autonomous does not need to prove anything to the world." When you begin to feel alignment between your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions, you lose the need to assert yourself. You no longer try to impress others, to earn love at any cost, or to become a version of yourself society expects. Your strength comes from clarity. You know who you are and what matters to you. This shift is especially visible in how you communicate. In the past, during a debate, you might have tried to speak a lot just to be understood. Now, you listen more closely and speak less, because you know what needs to be said and what does not. When someone expresses strong emotions, you do not feel attacked. You observe, you understand, and then you respond in a way that does not harm you. A coworker snaps at you because of a tight deadline. Before, you might have panicked, over-explained, or worried the whole day. But now, you calmly look at the task, clarify your part, and return to your work rhythm. You do not bring their emotions home, nor do you let them take your sleep. This is not indifference. It is the ability to distinguish what belongs to you and what belongs to someone else. Quiet strength also shows up in intimate relationships. When someone you love pours their fears or expectations onto you, you no longer tense up trying to meet everything. You listen without dissolving. You set boundaries without becoming cold. You give without draining yourself. You understand that true connection does not come from pleasing others, but from each person being able to stay themselves in the relationship. I once went through a very stressful period every time I returned home. My parents often said things like, "You should do this. You must do that." And I always felt pressure, as if I was never enough. In the past, I would immediately become defensive or sit silently in discomfort for the entire evening. But after moving through the layers of inner transformation, my response changed. I smiled, looked at them, and said gently, "I understand what you mean. I will think about it in my own way." No arguing, no blind compromise, no retreating, no anger. Just the response of someone who no longer lets others' expectations define their worth. Have you ever found yourself in a similar situation? If so, take a moment to look back. When you stand firmly inside yourself, the atmosphere around you changes. 2. You do not need to talk much or try to appear understanding, but your presence makes others feel more at ease. They begin telling you things they do not dare tell anyone else. They come to you when they need clarity, not because you are better, but because they do not feel judged in your presence. You are not trying to be someone's anchor, but your inner stability naturally becomes a place where others feel supported. Quiet strength does not appear overnight. It is the result of looking into your pain, facing your emotions, shedding old roles, and returning to your true nature. When there is no longer inner conflict, you no longer need noise to prove anything. People sense this even before you fully notice it yourself. And what about you? If you have ever had a moment where you clearly felt this shift, hold on to it. It is a sign that your journey is opening into an entirely new depth. And if you want, you can share that story in the comments below. Your experience may become a source of inspiration and reflection for all of us as we continue learning and growing together. Sign 10. Serving from wholeness. During the period of isolation, you believed everything was being taken away from you. But when you arrive here, you finally see the truth. Life pulled you away, not to weaken you, but to rebuild the foundation inside you. And when that foundation becomes steady, you return to the world in a completely different way. You no longer seek a place to lean on. You become the place others lean on. You do not need to compete, explain, or prove your worth to anyone. You simply live in a way that brings peace to your heart. The interesting thing is that when you are internally stable, others naturally feel comfortable around you. Not because you say wise things, nor because you give excellent advice, but because your presence makes them feel safe enough to be themselves. Only after passing through many layers of inner transformation do you realize how important this stage truly is. In the past, you might have rushed to help someone in difficulty because you feared disappointing them or wanted to feel useful. But now, you help from a place of fullness. You do not rescue anyone, you simply listen with a calmness you never had before. This makes people feel safer with you because they are not pressured to change, nor are they forced to be strong or instantly positive. Jung said, "The self is the center of the entire life process, not the persona." When you live from the self, the most complete part of you, you no longer act from lack. You give without expecting anything in return. You share without needing recognition. You support others without forcing yourself to be the good person. You act as naturally as breathing, because there is no longer an internal split within you. Inner wholeness also makes you a kind of lighthouse in the eyes of others. You do not chase anyone, pull anyone, or try to prove you are right. You simply stand in your own foundation and let your inner light guide the way. Others look at how you live, how you maintain boundaries, how you respect yourself, and they feel the clarity without you having to explain much. An old friend calls you and begins sharing painful stories they have never told anyone. They say they chose you because being near you feels light, and I do not feel judged. You did nothing extraordinary. You simply listened with the calmness you have built throughout your journey. But that calmness gives them a sense of safety to be more honest with themselves. You also clearly see what truly belongs to you and what does not. When someone tells you about their problems, you no longer jump in to fix or carry things for them. You let them hold their responsibility, and you hold yours. This is not indifference, it is a mature form of love. You understand that each person must walk their own path, and you cannot live or heal for them. Serving from wholeness also shows in the way you choose to show up in relationships. You choose truth instead of likability. You choose boundaries instead of pleasing. You choose to listen with your heart instead of reacting from instinct. You do not encourage others to be stronger, but you show them that peace is possible. Simply by living in that peace, you become an anchor for them to look toward. Someone once told me they had never dared to reveal their true emotions, but when sitting next to me, they felt safe enough to do so. That is the power of someone who has walked through pain and stepped into wholeness. You do not shine through effort. You shine because you are no longer divided inside. Serving from wholeness does not mean sacrificing yourself. On the contrary, it begins with knowing yourself intimately, knowing your limits, knowing what drains you, and knowing where you genuinely want to give. When you give from fullness, your energy flows more easily and reaches the right people. It does not force, it does not strain, it does not need to prove anything. In the end, you realize that everything you have gone through, the pain, the isolation, the silent layers of transformation, has led you to this point, living true to yourself and allowing that truth to naturally serve others. You are not healing the world. You are simply living fully in the light within you, and that alone is already a gift. Now that you have walked through the darkness and found peace within, the way you give also changes. So what within you wants to be shared at this moment? A kindness, a piece of understanding, or simply a warm presence? Let it speak on its own. When you look back at the entire journey, you will see that you have gone through 5 very important layers: pain, silence, dissolution, return, and wholeness. These are not 5 separate steps, but a circle that anyone who is awakening must walk through. And if you have arrived here, it means you have already stepped quite far into your own inner path. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." This sentence is gentle, yet carries enough weight to close the entire story today. Because in the end, this journey you have just walked is not a journey of seeking anything outside, but a journey of looking within to see yourself more clearly. You have gone farther than you think. The changes you are sensing are not random, nor are they signs that you are becoming weaker. They are signals that a deeper, truer, more conscious version of you is forming. And this is truly only the beginning of the path back to yourself, a path where you will discover much more if you continue walking. If this journey has touched you, stay. There are still many doors within you waiting to be opened, and I hope to walk alongside you in the next steps. If you found this video helpful, do not forget to subscribe so you do not miss upcoming videos on Stoic living and personal growth. Click the notification bell to be updated the moment we release new content. We always have meaningful and inspiring videos waiting for you. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.